The Mobile City Council, Tuesday, June 22nd. Please stand for our invocation led by Councilman Joel Daves, District 5, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
O God, our Heavenly Father, whose servant St. Peter counseled us to honor all men, love the brotherhood, fear God, and honor the King, keep steadily before us the reverence we owe thee, the loyalty due our country, the respect which is proper for our traditions, and the devotion we should gladly give to all whom we call our brothers. By all the memories of a great past, which strengthen us, sustain us, we pray, in our efforts to be thy servants in the creation of a new and better world which approaches the kingdom of God. Bless us in the fellowship of this gathering. Guide us in the making of right decisions, and give us grateful hearts for the blessings of life and love and the opportunities of thy service, now and always. Amen.
Roll call, President Manzi.
Here.
Vice President Small.
Here.
Councilmember Richardson.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Here.
Councilmember Daves.
Here.
Councilmember Rich.
Here.
Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Statement of rules.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We first would ask that you turn off or silence all electronic devices before or upon entering the meeting. Any person desiring to address the council must sign in indicating the resolution, ordinance, appeal, or public hearing agenda item before entering the meeting. When addressing the council, the speaker must clearly state for the record his or her name and address. Any person desiring to speak to the city council on a non-agenda item must contact the city clerk's office on the Thursday preceding the Tuesday in which you'd like to speak. All of your commentary must be identified and be pertinent to City of Mobile business. Any person who hadn't given that notice to the clerk's office won't be allowed to address the council. Speakers are granted 3 minutes to make their presentations. A bell will sound to indicate the end of 2 minutes. 1 minute remains for summarizing. The second bell indicates that all of your time has expired. When addressing the council, there is to be no personal address to any individual council member. All statements are to be made to the chair, and I will subsequently recognize any council member who wishes to respond. To maintain decorum, there will be no undue applause and or public outcry allowed. Those are the rules for this particular meeting, and we are appreciative of your interest in your municipal government.
Approval of minutes of June 15th.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Communications from the mayor.
Good morning. It's good to
morning.
see everybody here this morning. Appreciate you being here. I have 2 proclamations to read this morning. I'll start with the first one that's actually a proclamation signed by the mayor and the city council. I'll make some remarks about some announcements, and then I'll follow up by going to the podium and reading a proclamation for the Boys and Girls Club. The joint proclamation by the mayor and the city council read, whereas June 19th or Juneteenth is a date of special significance to the African American communities of Mobile and to all those who cherish liberty around the world, and whereas in 1865, over 2 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, Union General Gordon Granger read federal orders stating all previously enslaved peoples in Texas were free, initiating a grand tradition of joy and celebration. And whereas Mobile's heritage and history demand a regular observance and recognition of the long road that many have walked and continue to walk to create one Mobile for all Mobilians, and whereas it is deeply important to celebrate Juneteenth, the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States, And whereas upon the President of the United States and Governor of Alabama signing Juneteenth as a federal and state holiday, I'm authorizing June 19th as an annual holiday for the City of Mobile employees, and am joined by the City Council in support thereof. Now therefore we, the members of the Mobile City Council and the Mayor, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2021 as its inaugural city holiday, Juneteenth, in Mobile, and urge all our citizens to join us in this celebration of freedom for those who once were enslaved, signed by the Mayor and all City Council members. On today's agenda is an item having to do with the purchase of the Zyback property. This is a property that was formerly owned by Malls. It has been kind of under negotiations for 3 years. There was part of a long-range plan as you looked at the 3 Mile Creek Greenway Trail, all the bicycle trails having to do with the Tiger Grant, and the connectivity to the Crepe Myrtle Trail, thank you very much, through the connectivity of the Crepe Myrtle Trail and the various parks that are along that trail. The Zyback property became a property of significance that we thought the city should support, primarily because of what it does to connect the entire city through those bicycle and walking trails. It's part of the Perch Creek Preserve, and the other components of the Perch Creek Preserve had to do with Helen Wood Park and McNally Park. And so today, again, it's on the agenda, and there's been some other conversation about the Perch Creek Bridge. As many of you may know, the Perch Creek Bridge is on Dolphin Island Parkway right before you get to Dog River. That bridge is being raised, and part of a project not just to raise the bridge for kayaking, canoeing, and so forth, but there's also some structural integrity problems associated with the bridge. Anyway, so all of this is kind of tied together, but at the end of the day, the Zyback property will be part of a series of parks that are connected through biking and walking trails, and actually in about 2 weeks we'll have a large rendering of how all of that ties together, showing you the Crepe Myrtle Trail connecting to the trails at Broad Street all the way back to 3 Mile Creek Trail, which goes all the way to USA, the University of South Alabama campus. Also, my next announcement has to do with the Distinguished Young Women National Finals program will be held this weekend. It's the 64th annual finals here in Mobile. The show will be streamed Facebook Live on Saturday evening at 7 p.m. I hope that you will tune in and support this program. It's some of the most impressive seniors that we have in the United States competing for the title of Distinguished Young Woman. So please support that endeavor. On this Sunday, I've invited the mayors of the 10 largest cities, actually refer to the group as the Big 5 plus 5, to come to Mobile. They will spend Sunday afternoon and half a day Monday, and the subject will be gun violence. The idea is that we will collaborate with each other, sharing ideas and best practices of things that we can do, not just in the city of Mobile, but that they can do in their communities to help us stem gun violence. The Big 5 meetings started 7.5 years ago. And it was probably 3 years ago that we added the next layer of the 5 largest cities, thus the name the Big 5 plus 5. But we're very hopeful that we will learn some things new to do that maybe we aren't doing that others have done successfully in their communities. We think that we have some things to show them that they possibly aren't doing that they'll be able to take back to their communities. The entire effort is all to try to protect our citizens in a manner that they expect to be protected from the gun violence. I will say this, though. It is not just a policing problem. It is a societal problem. So there's so many different components of that, of all of us needing to do better. But we hope to be able to report to you next week some things that we have gleaned from that meeting. So at this time, I would ask, let's Let's see. The representative of the Boys and Girls Club? Yep, there we go. Yep. Let's see.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. I had too many papers. So, Kiara, if you would come join, why don't you come to the side? Yep. And the proclamation reads, whereas the young people of Mobile, Alabama are tomorrow's leaders, and whereas many of our young people need professional youth services to help them achieve their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible citizens, and whereas the Boys and Girls Club of South Alabama serves more than 5,000 young people ages 6 through 18 annually at 15 club sites and at its 150-acre Camp Chandler Tonsmire, and whereas the Boys and Girls Clubs of South Alabama are committed to doing whatever it takes to ensure that every young person served has the skills needed to graduate from high school on time and prepared for success in life and work. And whereas the Boys and Girls Club of South Alabama will celebrate National Boys and Girls Club Week, June 21 through June 25th, 2021, by recognizing its outstanding club members with various events, including the annual WKRG TV Telethon on June 22nd and a virtual Youth of the Year annual luncheon on June 24th. Now therefore, I, William S. Stimson, the 108th Mayor of the City of Mobile, do hereby proclaim June 21 through June 25th, 2021 as National Boys and Girls Club Week in Mobile, Alabama. Furthermore, I encourage all citizens to join me in the recognizing and commending Boys and Girls Clubs of South Alabama for doing whatever it takes to build future leaders for youth in our community. Congratulations, Kiara. Awesome.
Thank you.
Would you like to make a few remarks?
Of course.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kiara Mosley. I am the Youth of the Year for 2021, representing Bernard Malcove Cody Road Boys and Girls Club, and also the Boys and Girls Club of South Alabama. I am a rising freshman for University of Alabama at Birmingham next year, and I just want to say thank you all so much. For the Boys and Girls Club, it may seem as a passing thought for you guys on a daily basis. You know, you're happy to hear about the Boys and Girls Club when we do something important or you see us on Facebook or television, but we just want to say from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much. You have no idea the impact that you make on a daily basis when you come to the Boys and Girls Club, when you like a Facebook post on the Boys and Girls Club, make a small comment about one of our children doing great. We're excited to see that, and we're excited to have you guys' support. You guys really are changing lives out here, and it makes me so happy to come up here and be able to see this as National Boys and Girls Club Week. So thank you guys so much, and please continue to support the Boys and Girls Club.
So, Kiara, the enthusiasm exudes from every pore in your body. There's no doubt why you're the Youth of the Year, and so congratulations again. Yeah.
Mr. President,
Mr. Vice President.
Ms. Moser, congratulations on your accomplishments. Well, my question is to you, what is your major going to be at the university?
Thank you so much, Mr. Small. I'd like to major in psychology at UAB and then go on to clinical psychology for my master's degree. Good for you. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
I see you have a bright future ahead of you.
Thank
Bright
you so
future.
much.
Congratulations again.
Mr. President, if I might, while,
Why don't you make your way, we'd like to have a picture with you. That's right.
and while she's coming to the back here for a photo, I did want to say something about the Boys and Girls Club that she represents, because while it is not officially in the city, it's right next door, and I claim it, and it's really great that she's part of the Bernard Malcove branch, because we recently named that branch in honor of Bernie Malcove, who we all know, of course, married to Barbara Malcove, who used to work with the City of Mobile. So great having you here and representing that particular club as well, and the City of Mobile. Should I stand? Are we going to?
Okay, we want someone from the city council's office to make a picture.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Quite impressive. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. All right.
I would say soon to be famous, but it's already famous.
We'll like this when it gets on Facebook.
Here we go. One, two, three.
That was cute.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right.
Where did you
Thank
graduate
you
from?
again.
Thank you so
Keep up the
much.
good
Where
work.
did you graduate from?
Baker High School.
Baker
Yes,
High.
ma'am.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Worthy of framing. Congratulations.
Thank
Best
you.
of luck to you.
Thank you so much.
President Mancy, President Mancy, may
Yes, ma'am.
may I represent her father, Mr. Mosley, who's here?
Absolutely.
Please stand up, Mr. Mosley.
Thank you. Wonderful.
It takes an awesome family to raise an awesome child. And we
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
You can just tell that. I know you're immensely proud, because we are proud as well. Keep up the good work. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
You know, her father is come from one of the best fraternities around, Kappa Alpha Psi. So that's the reason that she's like that. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. That's great.
That concludes my remarks, Mr. President.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mann.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson.
I'd like to say good morning to Ms. Mayor. I sent, a week ago, Ms. Mayor sent you a letter based on the number of complaints I received across this city regarding our community centers and our senior centers. And some said they could get in, some said the door was locked. So I sent a letter saying, please provide my office a copy of any policy in place governing any and all citizens who visit any and all community and senior centers. If the policy is not uniform at all said centers, please differentiate. Please advise if any or all said center doors are locked during hours of operation. So I have not gotten a response. So what I did, I drove up to the Connie Hudson Regional Senior Center, beautiful center, and I had a part in that center being placed up there. It was headed up by Councilmember Bestridge, and I support that effort. And let me say what I saw up there should be a model for all centers in the city of Mobile. What I witnessed at the Connie Hudson Center should be a model. When I got up there, the doors opened automatically. I didn't have to do nothing. It's two set of doors. Both of them open automatically. And there were three gentlemen on the outside, and they told me that the programming inside the activities were free. Now, it might be some that they have to pay for, but the activities that they were participating in, and there was multiple activities they were participating in, free, and is open from morning till evening. That's how all of them ought to be, as far as I'm concerned. I drove down to the Sullivan Senior Center. The staff was in there. The doors were locked. Couldn't get in. Seniors tell me in order to get in, they had to have a state-issued pass, and that pass has to be scanned before they can come in the door. Parents telling me that the children have to pay $50 to participate in activities. Nobody is scanning anybody at the Hudson Center. Nobody. You walk in. But when you get down on this end, you have to have a special pass to get in. Just like I have to have a special pass to get in Government Plaza, They have to have a special pass, and they scan that pass before they let them in. All I'm saying, Mr. Mayor, you need a uniform policy. Treat all our citizens the same. And we shouldn't be charging these kids a dime. We have $64 million in surplus. We've got another $58 million. That's over $120 million we can pay for whatever it is these kids in these poor neighborhoods need. We can pay for it. We don't have to fleece them. We don't have to collect no money from them. We got the money. As a matter of fact, we are giving our employees $5,000 apiece. But we are charging their children to go in the center. School is out. Open up the center. I'm asking you, Mr. Mayor, to open up these centers, these community centers. We don't have 3 months. We have 2 left. Let the kids in. I'm for all these centers being treated the same. No special rules, and whatever your rules are, publish them. Don't make me go and get a photo and show you my license, or whatever I have to do to get my pass, then the other one just walk in the door. Scan everybody, don't scan none. It's the city of Mobile. We ought to be, I have gone through that in my lifetime where I was treated differently. Certain bathroom I couldn't go in. Certain hotels I couldn't go in. Now we done implemented such a policy here in our own city. One policy for all is what I say, and it ought to be. I'm requesting that we have one policy for everybody, all be treated the same, and whatever the rationale is for locking the doors, use that rationale to lock all doors, or to open the doors up. Thank you, Mr. President.
If I might comment.
Ms. Rich?
Thank you. Okay. This will not come as a surprise to Mr. Richardson. When I saw the video, I was very much offended. The Connie Hudson Senior Center scans for membership. Do you see this? Okay. I'll stand by this. I was not on council when the city saw fit to build a senior center that is probably one of the most popular locations as far as the number of people that come daily. There was a time where Councilwoman Hudson at the time wanted to use CBDG funds. It was denied. Council members would not loosen up funds for the senior center to be built, even though seniors qualify. Has nothing to do with economics. They are a special class, and they qualify for their programming. Instead, she went another route to borrow the money and use the historic tax credits, or not historic, no, I take that back, oil and gas. And for 10 years, payments on the note. She also was able to get $1 million from, at the time, it was Commissioner Nodine. He worked with Councilwoman Hudson. And then there was a foundation, which I was not on council either, but I was part of an early foundation that raised grants, that had fundraisers and got gifts from people in order to buy things above and beyond what the city would have been able to place in the facility, like the pool tables, the exercise equipment, the computers, the furnishings, the draperies. I could go on. The pool was supposed to be bigger. It became almost like a hot tub because they had to scale back, and that's unfortunate because a lot of people look forward to using that facility. The idea that people are treated different on the west side with a facility that's open strictly to seniors. It is not something that is deprived anywhere else in the city as far as senior centers, to my knowledge. District 6 does not have a children's or a youth center. It's not been a priority for the city to put one there. Doesn't mean that it isn't needed. It probably is indeed needed as a resource. But To me, the offense is to say that people are treated different because they live in a certain area of town. This group did not qualify for CBDG funds that, if this was the political will at the time, would have qualified easy. It was scaled down in size, and the parking lot's too small, and there's a lot of things that need to be upgraded with that facility. But to sit there and to say that it is something that people of privilege get is just completely offensive to me. I feel that the Parks and Recreation Department has a great team out there. Everyone is welcomed. You do have to become a member and be scanned in because you have to produce a health certificate that you can participate in their activities. And I'm sure this is true everywhere throughout our city. And the example that you gave was a poor example, Mr. Richardson, and it is offensive to everybody who uses that center because they come from all over the city. It's not just a little tiny center that is working with neighborhood people. It is bigger than that. They come from all over. And to me, it was just very bad optics on numerous levels. It hurt the people that work daily out there and the citizens that use it and will continue to use it. And I wish it the best, and I don't see where it's the poster child that there is difference on different sides of our city, because that's just not true. And again, it was a personal affront to me in that I'm not supposed to bring that luggage to the table, but to hear that and for us to have to participate in thinking that there is one center that is just so special. Yes, it has a foundation, and guess what? No one gets paid one nickel to be on that foundation, and it's been up and running since 2 years before the facility was built, and it's still up and running. They still raise funds. I think you've even participated in an activity, and every penny that they raise goes back to that center. They don't pay for anyone to operate the books. It's all volunteer. And yes, that's a model that should be picked up throughout the city. I'm sure the people that are on that would be happy to work with the community, because there are grants that can be qualified for. There are gifts that can come in from all over the city to make things the best it can be. But to sit there and to say that one is getting so much better treatment because they have automatic doors. There's seniors that go up there. They're handicapped, some of them. That's why the doors open automatically. There are no children in the facility, so they're not having to maybe make sure that they don't get out into the street or into the parking lot. I don't know the reasons why things are locked that you discovered, and I'm not so sure what you discovered based on what it is you said about the senior center out west at the Connie Hudson really even can be tangible, so to speak. And it's just horrifying to me that you would keep moving this message around when there are ways to find out how to make things better that don't require that some people get more than others do. Thank you.
Mr. President, I think this particular conversation's gone long enough. I mean, if they want to talk about this at another time, that'd be great. But we got people that have been here for a half an hour to watch our city conduct business. We probably ought to stick to our agenda if it's so fitting.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes, sir. I respect what Mr. Williams is saying. And I agree with most of what Bess had to say, except the part that I disparaged the Connie Hudson Senior Center. I started off by saying it is the model. It should be the model. I didn't try to put it in no negative light. When I said the doors open automatically, I wasn't trying to condemn nobody. I hoped all doors could open automatically. I'm not trying to condemn nobody. But one thing she didn't do, she didn't come back to justify her statement that the treatment at other centers is differently than the one she did. That's what I did. When I left the Hudson Center, I drove my car to the Sullivan Center. The seniors, that's where the seniors go. Just like the seniors go to to the Hudson Center. The seniors go to the Sullivan Center. The door is locked. To say that is the same treatment that I just left, to say that I am saying something that I should not say, how do we expect to make changes until we point out what needs to change? All I'm saying is they don't need no automatic doors, but the seniors ought to be able to walk into that center just like they're walking into the other center. They ought to be treated the same. It is not the same treatment, and the seniors will tell you that. And I agree, we shouldn't be labeled that. The purpose for me saying that is to tell Mayor Simpson I'm opposed to the seniors and the children being treated differently. I'm opposed to charging them. I'm opposed to locking their doors, locking them out. I'm opposed to all of that. If I don't say it, who's going to say it? I'm opposed to it.
Madam City Clerk.
Monthly finance reports.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
Yeah, Bob Holt, I'm going to give the monthly finance review. I think it actually came in as a surprise to all of us this month. For the month, the city's tax revenue was about $16.5 million against a budget of $11 million, so we came in about $5.3 million better than we expected. And year-to-date, our actual revenue is $120 against a budget of $103, and so year-to-date on our sales revenue, we're about $16 million better than we thought. And for all tax revenue, for the month, we were at $22 million versus a budget of $16, so we're about 5.5 better than budget. And for the year, $216 million against a budget of $189 for about 26. Against a budget of 26. So $26 million ahead for the year. Everybody wondering, what really happened, and maybe a little bit of an explanation. Last year when the budget was prepared, the budget was based on how business was at that time and the expectation of, how COVID would be continuing on through the year. And I think everybody took a conservative position and thought that let's not go in there and think that everything will be resolved by next year. So the budget was based on how the business and how the city was doing and how the revenues were being collected at that time. What turned out to be the case, though, is that as the COVID crisis started to diminish, business started to come back much faster than it was anticipated. And these low numbers that we thought we were going to receive turned out to be better as different things happen. And I wanted to share just a couple of things with you that you might find interesting. I was looking at the Federal Reserve forecast for the second quarter, and I thought a lot of it was pretty interesting. So the latest Federal Reserve report on GDP now is at 6.5%. That's a pretty good number historically. In fact, it's probably one of the best numbers we've probably seen in 30 years. And that's already up from the end of the year, which was 5%. So the outlook by the Federal Reserve is more positive growth and better than what we thought it would be at the end of the year. The unemployment rate at the end of the year was forecasted at 4.5%. It's now forecasted at 4%, and it was forecasted at 5% at the beginning of the year. So there's further improvement, I also think, because of the growth that we're seeing today that wasn't anticipated. So a better performance in unemployment. Another factor that I thought was really interesting, and this really applies to the bulk of the American population, but right now households in general, as of today, have $2.8 trillion in banks, which is more than we would normally have. And that's across the entire country. And really what that means is, I think, is there's a tremendous amount of pent-up demand as people are coming out of the coronavirus have money that they haven't been spending, and they can now begin to spend a little bit more. And I think that's also some of the things that's contributing to the better than expected performance we had in revenues for this coming year. And then the other thing, though, that we're seeing more and more and hearing more and more about on the news today is inflation. And right now, inflation is forecasted at about 2.4%, which is slightly up from what it was earlier in the year. They have not come out and said anything more other than that 2.4%. But I think if you watch the news, you can probably see that you're hearing stories where inflation is starting to take a hold, and that's not to be unexpected. I mean, we've got a lot of money that's coming into the economy through the stimulus, and I think that's part of why we did well too. But at the same time, it has another effect, and so that's something that we need to watch as we go forward this year. And then finally, interest rates. Interest rates are still low, almost non-existent. We also worry about this with the inflation. The inflation rate is also sometimes attacked by the increase in interest rates. And right now, though, surprisingly, most of the Federal Reserve people are still hesitant to increase interest rates at this time. And if they do make a forecast, they say maybe in the next year and a half, 2 years, we would maybe anticipate starting to bring their interest rates back up. But in the meantime, I would say overall, the finances of the city are still good. I think the finances of the city are being managed well. We still contribute to the surplus, and we have the ability to build a better city with the performance that they've shown. So, any questions?
I have a question. Well, it's somewhat question, if I may. You good with that, President? Okay. Some departments, depending on what exactly they performed, remove people from their budget during the COVID, budgeting year. Like you said, they were conservative, and therefore they knew they weren't going to either have students coming to something, an event or whatever. How is that going to be looked at for the upcoming budget cycle? Are we going to try to get our programming and events and things back up? Is that something that you're participating? I don't know as finance director whether that's something.
Well, as the finance director, what we're looking to do is trying to make sure that we have a level funding budget this year, because there are certain things that we want to do that are going to put more pressure on the budget, such as possibly another raise that we haven't really been able to offer. Right now, the goal is to try and level fund, but we're looking at our projects on a case-by-case basis. We have a pretty good backlog of construction projects, and we have other investments we want to make in IT and throughout the city, and we're evaluating that on a day-by-day basis. Just had a meeting yesterday going over all the capital projects that are out there, either those that we know that we're going to do or those that potentially we can do. And we still have another month and a half before we finalize the budget.
Right. No,
and I know there'll be more
Council,
discussion on these as we go forward.
Right. I was just thinking about departments or like our museum, let's just say it like it is, our museums that normally would have had students, but in the COVID year, that didn't happen. So they didn't need the staff to support that, but in order to get back, so if we level them, we're basically doing away with a component that was real important to the community and as a resource.
Yeah.
So
the question, the point's really we're not level funding the employment, we're level funding our budget. Now, how we get to that budget is going to be up to each department on how best to manage their organization. And in some cases, as we've heard before, that some feel that maybe they need a few more people, we need to hire more people, we've had more difficulty. But in others, that's not the case. The whole budget is a conglomerate of inputs from a lot of different sources, and each one is going to be looked at differently with the general guideline that we're trying to manage it to
and
the
that
same
would be
level.
true in public services too,
Yeah.
because we keep hearing there weren't enough people
Yeah.
to, we have the sweepers, but not enough people. So it's good to have the sweepers, but if you're not bringing them out, it's not helpful to the.
Yeah, but our goal, I'm speaking as the finance
No,
guy.
I know, that's why I'm wondering whether that's,
I think the city's goal is to meet the needs of the city.
Yes.
Meet them in the most professional and responsible way that we can, and make room and make sure that we have the ability to continue on in that same manner next year, when, who knows, the economy may not be what we think it's going to be based on this year. I mean, this is a perfect example of how you never really know what's going to happen. I mean, everybody last year was thinking, oh, this is going to be a terrible 2021, or there's certainly a lot of caution about that 2021. And here we are, we're coming through the worst month historically of a typical fiscal year, or May is usually the worst, and here we have a positive outcome.
Right.
And I think that caught everybody by surprise. And when I saw that, you know, I had to look again twice. I had to go back and ask Rebecca if she'd take another look at the numbers. And so that was a positive thing.
Right.
But it's just like the stock market, you know. A guarantee today is not a guarantee for tomorrow, or anything else for that matter.
I'm just trying to
yeah.
drill down into the philosophy of, you know, how you come out of a pandemic and, you know, get the community the resources that they were either used to or were growing and were a great resource, so.
Sorry, Jim.
Yeah, Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I think to Ms. Rich's question is, and so in the construction of the 2022 budget, if you listen to the finance director, it's level funding. What you're talking about is that we didn't hit our level funding from fiscal year 2021. So those are actuals which are below what we actually budgeted. And so you have funded positions that were not filled. You use the museum as an example. So level funding actually funds those same positions to be filled in fiscal year 2022. And so that level funding would match up as closely as possible to fiscal year 2021. And then we're looking at, because of the comments about inflation, about trying to get a cost of living adjustment in there. But we're still working through those numbers, but we're working very diligently, and it does look very good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President, I'd like to thank Mr. Holt for his report. And I think the discussion with respect to employment is good. We know we have a number of positions that are authorized and unfilled. And I'm sure that will be addressed not only as we move forward, but in the upcoming budget. The city of Mobile is in an enviable financial position right now. At a time during the COVID when many other cities were laying people off and shutting museums and libraries and all that kind of thing. We didn't have to do any of that because we were in a strong financial condition. And much progress has been made over the last 8 years. The long-term debt, which started out as $300 million, is now down to $200 million. We're eating away at the unfunded liability in the pension plan. But there are still challenges. We have whatever the number is. Mr. Amberger could give a better estimate than me, but $200 to $300 million in deferred maintenance on our infrastructure. We could spend as much money as we wanted to fixing the drainage in this city, which is very, very old, and it's a city that gets 60 inches plus of rain a year. So we still have some financial challenges. And the other thing to keep in mind, and of course I've been saying this for the last 8 or 10 years, the good times are going to end at some point. The stock market is sitting at a PE twice its mean. And at some point, we're going to have an extended downturn in the economy. And we need to be prepared for that as we go forward. So I think we can take some pride in where the city is today in terms of its financial condition, but we can't assume that it's always going to be this good. We have to make plans for when it's not this good. Thank you.
Perfect. All right.
Thank you.
Very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, I just want to give you some clarity. There have been a number of questions asked about Parks and Rec and policy. From a legal standpoint, I want to make sure you all know, and everybody watching knows, and the audience knows, there's no disparity between what we do and don't do at different centers. That wouldn't be right and it wouldn't be legal. But what we do have is access control. So good example is that door to my far left, your far right is locked. It's locked for secure access purposes. You all come through certain doors and so do we. That happens at all of our centers. The main door at Sullivan Center is open. And as Councilwoman Rich mentioned, the Connie Hudson Senior Center is specifically for seniors. The programming there is specifically for seniors. We have other centers that have cohabitation between young people and the older population. You got to understand that the programming is going to be different, but the treatment's not. Access control is an issue for all of our buildings, as you all well know, but want to explain that. Ultimately, what you have to understand is the children who come to the camps, they pay for those. The children who come to the centers come freely. They're not turned away. We have not turned any children away. Let me say that again. We have not turned any children away. So children have access to our centers. Anyone who wants to participate in our camp, there is a charge for that. And what you have to remember about Sullivan is the sale program was there. That was free of charge as well. We're delivering the meals, but of course we're working to get them back into the centers as well once we have the people. And the disparity that we're talking about is really a narrative more so than anything. The doors are open in our centers. One door for access, the other access control, and we do have different programming for children and people who are elderly. So we wouldn't necessarily have the same programming for someone who's 82 versus somebody who's 12. It just doesn't make good sense. But understand that nobody's being turned away from our centers. That's a narrative that's not really supported by facts. And all of our participants in our programs do have to scan in. That is something that we have created in order to make sure we know who's coming in and out of our centers. And as you all well know, we wouldn't just want anyone having access to our children, and we wouldn't want anyone having access to the people who are senior citizens. And that is for access control as well as security issues. So just want to make that clear. Thank you, sir.
Mr. President.
Mr. Richardson.
I came out of Connecticut County, Alabama. Connecticut County had 4 high schools. I couldn't attend any of them. They sent me to a training school and tried to convince me that that training school was equal to a high school. We just heard that same argument. I don't care what you say. I drove up there. Now, I drove up there and the door was locked. And we are hearing an argument that that's not true, that the door is open. I videoed it. You saw it, the door was locked. And you're hearing testimony today as like Fred is lying. The door is open. Brother, a rose by any other name will smell the same. You can't fool nobody with that. Door was locked. You can argue all you want to, say whatever you want to say.
So,
I'm
Mr.
coming
President,
back. If you come back again, I'm coming back.
Mr.
So
President,
you can let it go or we can move on.
Mr. President, I want to explain what access control means. Access control simply means, and this is a real definition, it's not made up. Access control means that all fire escapes are locked, okay? And that means that the door is open. That means the other doors are locked from the outside, but you can't just have anybody coming in. The center is open. So that's the thing, the center is open. And so there's nobody being denied. If you could give me the name of one child or one senior who's been turned away, we will fix it. I seriously doubt that happens in this room today.
Mr. President, I think Mr. Woods hit the nail on the head when he said, we can't just let anybody come in. He hit it on the head when he said that. We ain't locking everybody out. We locking just who we want out. He just said it.
No, he didn't.
I give up, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
They claim I didn't hear that. He said it. We're not going to let it. We just let everybody in. That's why we locked the door.
Madam City Clerk.
He also said that was a narrative not based in fact, and I think we can just apply that to a whole bunch of stuff being said. So I like those words, Mr. Woods.
That's a real
Adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Appeals, we have requests for a waiver of the noise ordinance on July the 4th on Charles Street, July 10th on Shenandoah Road West, July 17th in Langham Park, July 2nd in the grounds, July 3rd and 4th on Burtonwood Drive, July 10th in Langham Park, and July 8th through the 9th in Cooper Riverside Park.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Ms. Gregory?
I brought this up at pre-conference, but I just want to mention it one more time. There are a number of waivers for the noise ordinance in my district. Most of these are at Langham Park or at the grounds. The grounds, of course, is a big venue for concerts and other events. Langham Park is a popular place for family reunions as well as some praise concerts. So I just want everyone who lives within that area to know that we will be having these from time to time. They shut them down at a certain time of the evening. You may hear the music, you may not. A lot of times it depends on the weather, how everything goes as to how much you hear or you don't hear. The one thing I also get complaints about, though, are car engines revving up, noise like that, that is not a part of these events. If you're hearing car engines, it may be from people just driving through. But the police department gets a copy of these noise waivers so they know what's going on. If the music is inordinately loud for whatever reason, I'm sure they'll be happy to go by and check it out and make sure if they need to ask them to turn it down a little bit. But just beware that at the park there will be concerts, there will be family reunions with some amplified sound, but there is a cutoff. It does not go throughout the evening.
That's it. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Public hearings. Today is the public hearing to declare the structures at 460 Dexter Avenue, 56 South Lafayette Street, 1455 Lincoln Street, and 2118 Barron Place public nuisances and ordering them demolished.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak during any of these public hearings? Would you like to offer any commentary? Yes, sir. If you would come to the podium here, and if you could give us your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Jim Raymond. I'm the owner of the 2118. I've decided to tear it down, but I would just like to have a little more time to do it. How much are you willing to extend?
So you would want to demolish this property yourself?
Well, no, I want to get the appliances and the personal stuff and the window frames and stuff that can be used over again, and then everything seems to take longer than it seems to. I would just like to have more time to get it done.
About how much more time do you need?
Could give me 90 days?
Mr. Jackson, how much time could he have without the city had to re-advertise?
Pardon me?
I'm talking to Mr. Jackson right behind you.
To the Council President, Gary Jackson, Municipal Enforcement Program Coordinator. We started the process on April the 26th of 2021, so the owner we have 100 days to process.
You have 100 days?
Yeah.
So if we lay it over for
3 months.
100 days from April.
Yes.
So we lay over for another 30 days, will we still be in compliance?
30 days will be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, we can lay it over for 30 days if you can try to just get everything done by 30 days before the city can stay in compliance, for it don't have to go back and re-advertise. if that's fine with you.
Am I going to,
If the city council can lay it over for 30 days for you, could you have it done in that complete of time? Because
I don't really know. I never tore a house down on anything like that before.
yeah, I'm gonna ask the council to lay it over for 30 days. If you could talk to Mr. Jackson after the meeting, yes, sir. But we're gonna lay this over for 30 days, okay? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Yes, sir.
With Jeffrey Butts.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Butts, address 23953 Montrose Woods Drive, but I'm here on behalf of 56 South Lafayette Street. It's my wife's father's property, and he passed away about 2 years ago, and we were unaware that he still owned the property on 56 South Lafayette Street, but was made aware about 6 weeks ago by the city of Mobile. And since then, we kind of dug up what we needed to do. There was about $2,800 of property taxes due on that property. We've paid those, and then we hired a realtor and contractor, Steve Mays, to take a look at the property, see if we could salvage it, rebuild it, fix it up. But he deemed really the property as unsalvageable. And it needed to be demolished. There was 2 huge holes in the roof and just lots of water damage. And so from there, we have gotten a quote from Virginia Wrecking to demolish the property and haul off all the debris and whatnot from the house. Their lead time is about 6 weeks in order to do that, just with all the projects they have upcoming. But after demo, we plan to lay grass down and then likely either hold the property or put it for sale. So if we could just get an extension of, he quoted us about 6 weeks, and so really we probably need kind of 8 weeks to get all that done. So,
Mr. Jackson, he's indicating that he would need about 8 weeks in order to demolish it himself.
Yes. Our recommendation would be 7 weeks.
7 weeks, okay.
7 weeks.
7 weeks?
Okay, so that would be, at this point, like 2nd week of August?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I think that would work, so.
Sound like one. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate you coming down.
Okay, thank you.
7. Is there anyone else that would? Yes, ma'am.
No, that's a non-agenda item.
This is for,
No.
public speaker time.
Yeah.
She's not here to speak.
Do you have any commentary on the houses that I've just, no ma'am, I'm sorry.
Just on,
We're gonna call you up just a little later.
oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else that would like to speak during any of these public hearings? If not, the public hearings are closed.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Mario Yao.
Good morning, Council.
Good morning.
Administration. My name is Mario Yao, 1860 Reddy Street, Mobile, Alabama. On June 9th at 12:33 p.m., I spoke with my city council rep about what the fine would be to trim or cut this tree that hangs over my house. City representative then advised me that he had just spoken with City Arbors and Public Works Director, and I could go ahead and cut that tree down. I immediately then called a tree service to come and cut a pine tree off of my property and give me an estimate on the other tree that's over my house. He came right out and got started. During the roping process of the pine tree, a hydraulic hose broke. He left to get the part fixed. At 4:30 p.m., my city rep called me back while leaving Ford Lumber on Highway 98 and said, hold up on the tree, because he was or had gotten some different and conflicting information concerning the tree. So upon returning to the house, unloading materials, 2 units of Mobile police pulled up, and I started to go live via Facebook to let the followers of my morning show, the Big Y'all and J45 Live morning show, see what was going on, which had almost 2,000 viewers watching the matter, was aired also on WKRG and Channel 15 News. So Peter, the city arborist, called Mobile Police Department on me saying that I had cut down the tree that's over my house after just speaking with him not even a week earlier about the same tree, saying he called the police because he didn't have my number. All this happened after speaking with my city rep of District 2, in which he told me, and I quote, "Cut that big sucker down, bro, y'all." 2 SROs have been reported on this tree. City arborists deemed the tree as a low risk, just as he did the trees in Bienville Square. That should say something as to his judgment about trees that are safe or not. Peter also lied about the tree being trimmed in December of 2020, which myself and neighbors know that that's a lie. Peavy, with Public Works Director, walks up with an attitude and no knowledge of trees at all. He got upset because I wouldn't agree to the lie that he wanted me to repeat about touching the tree. On my Facebook Live at 23 minutes, Peavy also said it doesn't matter about the tree being over my house, in which he said he didn't while also being recorded on live. Threatening me about court and a fine, in which I had told him I would pay the fine if I could cut this dangerous tree from over my house. So in the result, I was given a ticket because Peavy and Peter didn't like how I spoke to them. So I got a citation for mutilating the tree that I was told to cut down, but the tree hadn't and still hasn't been cut down. I spoke to the mayor last Tuesday during council meeting, called his office twice trying to get an update on something done about this tree with no response so far. Hurricane season is upon us, and I'm afraid for my property, my children, as well as my safety because of this tree. I think this fine is wrong and something needs to be done. Citizens over trees before this tree destroys my property and or seriously injure or kill someone, like myself and my children. I have pictures also of the tree. Yes, okay, and my tree contractor is here as well. He also received a citation on this matter.
Any other commentary, Mr. Yell?
No, so I just like to know like what can be done, or is the administration going to talk to forestry? I mean, we've just been having this storm that just blew over. This tree is swinging over my house. I just spent over $10,000 in remodeling on my property that was given to me by my grandmother. The property has a lot of sentimental value. I don't want to lose the property over this tree that has been reported for 3 decades. My grandmother reported it. She passed at 92 years old. She's been deceased now 7 years. My mother reported she's been deceased 16 years. I'm reporting still nothing is going on with this tree, and it's causing me problems after problems, thousands of dollars after thousands of dollars. I can't afford to just keep putting money into a city tree.
Mr. President.
Mr. Vice President.
Mr. Yao, what the city, you said y'all have been reporting for years. What they saying? I mean, what's the response?
They'll say that they came out and trimmed the trees, which they have not trimmed the trees. I know myself in the 7 years my grandmother has been deceased, because once the property was given over to me, I started going back to the house, trying to fix up on the house, getting stuff done from the inside out. Now I'm on the outside bricking the house. The first year I was there, I put a pool out there. The tree dropped a limb, bust the whole pool open. I mean, nothing was, I called, did an SRO. They said they were gonna come trim the trees, nothing was done. When they'll come and trim the trees, they might get up at the top, none of the low limbs, because I couldn't even pull in my driveway until just recently when the tree service guy had to come and trim the tree to get into the pine tree that was on my property. And that's what they, I guess, called mutilated the tree.
So let me ask you, is it 2 trees in question or just one?
No,
Because
it's one.
it was a pine tree or something.
The pine tree was on my property. It's been cut down. But he had to have an access point to get to the pine tree with his bucket truck, which he couldn't because the oak tree had limbs leaning all on the lines, blocking the driveway. I can't even pull inside of my driveway because of the tree, the oak tree. And the oak tree sits on the city right away, but it's halfway across my house.
Well, one thing I can say for certain, I have had communication after communication after communication with Mr. Yao concerning this particular tree. I've been there on site to see exactly the issues that he's remarking upon, and each time that he's brought it to my attention, I've reported it to the administration and to Public Works and to our city arborist. On the day in question, I got conflicting responses. One response said that it was all his responsibility, And then immediately I got another one that said that it was the city's. So I called Mr. Yao back and made certain to tell him not to bother the tree. And as he was making his plans with the tree, I believe he tagged me in on a Facebook post. He tagged the mayor in on a Facebook post. And he tagged the arborist in on a Facebook post. That's how they knew what was going on with the tree, because we got tagged in a Facebook post. Had we not gotten those tags, Peter probably would not have shown up right then. But all of us got tagged in this Facebook post concerning the tree. I feel like him, though. I wish we could come to some finality as relates to this tree. So is there anyone from the administration? I know the mayor's not in now. Mr. Barber, is there something that you would like to say as relates to Mr. Yao and this complaint with the tree?
Yeah, Mr. President, I was trying to follow what was being said, and the determination I was trying to make were twofold. One, how to address it going forward, but also whether or not Mr. Yao acted in good faith, believing that he had permission to cut that tree. But I'm listening to you, and so I guess my question really is, if it was ever represented to Mr. Yao that he could cut that tree, then I would say he did act in good faith if it was done by an official of the city. Even if that may have turned out to be incorrect. And so, but that has to do with the fines that he received or the citations. It still doesn't alleviate the fact that the tree is on the right of way, and he would need to go before the tree commission to get permission to remove that tree.
What would be his process in order to start that, going before the tree commission?
Mr. Yao, I'm told that you have been explained the process to get before the tree commission.
Peter was like, just need to go before them. I don't have any knowledge of how that process really works. I mean, I would love to know, because like I said, like the storms are coming, and this tree is just up there leaning dead wood, falls every time it rains.
So, Mr. President, if you may, the city attorney and I can meet with Mr. Yao, make sure that we get that information to him on how to legally go about removing this tree. But at the same time, we'd like to know more about whether he acted in good faith.
That'd be fine. If you all could get with Mr. Yao, Mr. Woods, and Mr. Barber, and let him know that tree commission process, and hopefully we can finally get some resolution as relates to this tree.
Mr. President.
Mr. Richardson.
I would like to ask Mr. Yao, is it, the concern, is it the oak tree or the pine tree?
It's the oak tree, because the oak tree is not mine. It was told it was mine.
Okay, so I don't see how you going before the tree commission going to help you. It's not your oak tree.
Yes, sir.
Oak tree belongs to the city. The city needs to go before the tree commission
Yes,
and
sir.
cut that thing from over your house.
Yes, sir.
What they need to do. It's the city's tree over on your house.
Yes, sir.
I'm saying that the issue is he can't go to the tree commission and say, can I cut the city's tree? It's the city's tree.
Yes, sir.
He's asking us he done showed the city that this is what the tree is doing to his house. Instead of the city going out getting permission, whatever they need to do it, to take care of their own tree, the city done find that.
Yeah, I got a $722 fine.
$720, it's a city tree.
And the tree isn't even cut down.
Let me explain something, Mr. President. So, Mr. Small indicated what actually happened here. There are two trees, but one's a live oak, one's a pine tree. One's on Mr. Yao's property, and the live oak is in the right of way. The limb is extending over Mr. Yao's property. That is what he is asking to cut. That is my understanding. You're asking to remove the limb.
The limb or the tree?
Okay, either one. That means Mr. Yao has to go before the tree commission to make this application to ask that this be done. And for him, it sounds like a safety issue. So it sounds like Mr. Manzi said, hey, cut it down, but there were two trees. It wasn't just one. The pine tree, that's a different issue. The oak is what we're talking about. So we will explain that process to him of walking through, going to the tree commission and work with him. We'll get our arborist to do so, and he can make an application to the tree commission to cut that limb or do what needs to be done to keep his property safe. So it sounds like this might be the first time or maybe the second time that he's been talked to about the tree commission.
Well,
Mr.
Mr.
President.
Yao, if you would get with Mr. Woods and Mr. Barber, and they will explain the tree commission process. Each of us have representatives appointed to the tree commission. So I think once you explain the seriousness of the situation, you'll find a sympathetic ear, and hopefully we'll be able to come to a final remedy with this tree.
Well, Mr. President, I mean, I know this is your
Mr.
area.
Williams?
I see this often enough that, well, what happens is we say go through the process and then we oppose the process, him in the process. Can he get a preliminary answer of the administration's position prior to going through the process? Can we do that for him? You see what I'm getting at?
I think, not only do I think that's a fantastic answer and see what you're getting at, it would be better, because the tree commission is appointed by the council, if the council made it definitive that they wanted to support him. Just because those are your appointees and they're going to listen to you. So the administration supports what Mr. Yao is talking about in the effect that if it's actually being dangerous, the limb itself, not necessarily cutting down the tree, but the limb itself. If the tree is dead, that's a different story. But the limb extending, that's the process you should go through. But
I have a question about the extension of the limb, because if you...
Let me say this. Mr. Yao, the chairman of the tree commission, is an appointee of mine. I will call him this afternoon and make certain that he knows that this application will be coming before the tree commission. And if it takes him coming out, looking at your property with the city's arborist, in order for us to get something positive done as relates to this tree, we'll work to do that. His name is Jesse McDaniel. I'll reach out to him after this meeting, hopefully get you all connected. I've had citizens, similar to what Mr. Woods just said, who come to me with issues regarding trees in their homes and in their properties. And they've worked with us to come up with the best solution that helps the citizen while also preserving the integrity of the tree. And it may be that it's just some limbs that need to be cut, or it might be that they move forward with letting you take the whole tree. We'll see, but let's go through the process, and hopefully, as a result of that process, come to some finality as relates to this tree. It looks like your family's been dealing with it for over 30 years, so hopefully we can come to some finality.
Okay.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk.
Suzette Mason.
Hi, I'm Suzette Mason, 1363 Azalea Road. I came here on June the 1st and discussed about the ownership of the house and to get the opportunity and to clean up, which I have. I've been tearing down that green building, but and I was told I had that opportunity, and I left, and then 8 days later I received a letter of that the home was going to be demolished. And then since then I signed up to come today and speak, and I've received a greeting from the post office and from the garden club. And the Inspector Williams came, and he said that, I needed to get the windows, but I got to get in the house to repair the windows. And he said the green building, the trailer needs to come down, and I'm in the process of doing that. And I also am still continuously being harassed and hacked, and my phone, there's things that Gboard and memo stuff I don't even know how to operate it. They're continuously working in printing too, and there's just something going on at that house with at the trailer. I don't know what, and I think maybe the council knows. I don't know, because the house has been vandalized inside, and I would just like to stop. And what was, did y'all still have it to be demolished? I did receive the letters. Here's that letter, I gotta get the tires on the van aired up, and I put the tag on it. and I guess here's a photo of, the trailer and stuff. I'm tearing that down, and it's been, I don't know what's going on actually, but what did y'all, it's still in probate. I'm trying to get the title. Things have just not been right for me. I have been,
Yes, ma'am.
I've been underdogged from the lawyers, lied to my brother, and I just, but I'm cleaning the house up. I've cleaned it really,
That's
from
good.
the outside. I need to go inside to get the repairs on the windows, because you can't do that outside. And
Well, we thank you for coming, and you hang in there. You may be the underdog, but you hang on in there.
okay,
Yes,
well,
ma'am.
So everything's.
Chris, you wanna tell us- Mr. President, our attorney has an update on where this exactly is.
Sure, Mr. Arledge.
Yes, sir. The council, I guess it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, ordered it demolished. The house is in an estate proceeding, which Mr. Attorney Frank Cruz is over. And after the demolish order came out, he filed an appeal of that to circuit court, where the case is now pending. I don't even know if it's been served on the city yet. It's just now happened. So as far as the demolition part, it's probably going to be tied up for some time while that gets sorted out. And he also told me that they had a buyer lined up for the place. So really, I think this is an issue of the estate and who gets what.
I want the
and
house.
that's between, well, she's going to have to talk to Mr. Cruz about all that.
And it's just hasn't been right on every aspect. Okay, well.
So her brother has filed some action.
No, he's Frank Cruz is
He's
the
the
former
administrator.
county administrator that the judge would appoint over estates where there's nobody else that can do it. And he's actually resigned now, but this is one of his leftover cases that he's still trying to finish up. And there's nothing else for the city council to do at this time.
In the courts now.
So,
Right.
so it'll be on the civil court
Yes, ma'am.
with it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you.
Reggie Hill regarding agenda items 64026, that's the zoning, 08443, that's the golf equipment, 08449, the cyber initiatives, and 21453 and 452 regarding the cyber contracts, and also statements regarding Mr. Yao's presentation.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk, Mr. President, members of the council, in the absence of our mayor, to the administration, citizens and stakeholders of Mobile. Good morning, Reggie Hill, 1007 Center Street. I'm going to actually work backwards from the order that our city clerk mentioned. I want to start with the remarks from Mr. Yao. Mr. President, I too as well contacted Mr. McDaniel to try and get some kind of insight on what's happening with the matter, primarily because what has been lost, and really amongst the entire city, we can argue, this is a strong council, weak mayor form of government. All right? So I would believe that a citizen, if given a report from a counselor, would believe that that is the word. That would be the law. Because we heard some stuff that was mentioned today as well, and I commend Councilman Richardson for bringing this up. All these commissions and boards and all this kind of stuff, they make recommendations to the council, and the council still approves it. So once that's been stated by the councilor, that would be expected as something to be accepted from the citizen. Now, what I would recommend, we were talking about archaic policies and stuff before, that's going to lead me into my zoning message. That might be archaic too. If you have something from a city right away that's pouring into a citizen's property, and we don't have anything on the books that can take care of it, but we're willing to fine that individual. There's an issue with that. And this is something that should be taken care of immediately, and I hope that it will be. Regarding the zoning piece, is this in relation to the UDC proposal that was submitted by the administration, or is this something different? Because it wasn't specified on the agenda. Okay. Well, if it's something that's related to the UDC, I do want to speak about how we're pouring our money into our zoning practices. If I'm not mistaken, the governor sent about $35 million into tourism for the city of Mobile. We was talking about a project earlier today near the DIP District 3 area, yet we have something that is an international heirloom that is kind of being overlooked, and it seems as if $50,000 came out of the blue to put something else, to put maybe a seed or a stamp to look as if there was some serious motion going forward. But I think we're missing the mark on where we're putting our investments. So I would like to know if these resources came out of that tourism funding, and why was it spread in one area over another that has been petitioning for this support for generations? And that might be something that we need to look into. Because of the timing, I just want to make sure. I frequent the Zay City Golf Course very often. I'll probably be out there this week if the weather permits. I know most of these people by name. So the thing I'm asking is, how is it that we have equipment under certain departments that is not being utilized for all the departments that are under that window? Is this not a city park? But yet we're willing to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that equate to millions of dollars that can be used in other places for stuff that I believe we already have in the inventory. But I wouldn't know if we do or not. So I hope that we can get something to do with that. Now, dealing with the cyber initiative, time-wise, I just want to know if anybody can tell me if this is going to have anything to do with looking into criminal surveillance as well. We spend a lot of money into this cyber stuff, a lot of money in this technology stuff. We're not cracking down on the issues that are actually going on. And there are some criminal surveillance matters that are taking place in this city. I believe if we eradicate those things, we'll see a lot better quality of life here. So thank you for yielding the floor.
Mr. President.
Small?
Yeah, I really did not get into city government until after I came back to Mobile from college. And when my good friend Clinton Johnson, the Reverend Clinton Johnson, was councilman in District 3 at the time, you know, I always thought I could just pick up the telephone and tell him, you know, that the right-of-way need to be cut, the street out there need to be patched up, you know, different city needs. The only thing, you know, I had to do is call the Reverend Clinton Johnson, and it was going to be done by the snap of a finger. And find out quickly, especially when I got on council, that, you know, that's not true. It's very spelled out in the law that the city go by, which is the Zyback Act. It spells out that the council legislates and the administrator, you know, they administrate, you know, the actions in the city. So therefore, you know, only thing a council person can do, especially when things come to them from a citizen, you know, and especially things need to be done in the city or in the community, is to take that information and report it to the mayor. And the mayor goes work through his administration to get that particular issue done. If there is question that the council have, you know, we go through the administration, the mayor, and ask those questions. And so therefore, you know, once they give us an answer, we go back and tell the citizen, you know, the answer that we have received at that particular time. Many times that citizens call me and ask me about different things, what's the status of, you know, different stuff. You know, I'll pick up the telephone, I'll call 311, and I ask 311, has this particular issue has been reported? And 311 will give me an answer as far as a yes or no. A lot of times that when I do call 311, sometimes I do not get the answer that I want, and I had to go further, you know, with the situation. I have a situation now that I'm working with Colonel DeLapp about, you know, lights, and I've been asking him for that about 6 weeks, and I still don't have an answer yet. But I cannot go beyond administration, go to employee, because that's a misdemeanor. And again, the only thing we can, and the particular residents that asking me about those lights, especially on the service road, is still looking at me for the answer, and I keep on telling that particular citizen, I'm waiting for the administration to give me the answer before I can give it to them. So, I mean, it's not as what I thought it was when Clinton Johnson was in his seat, that he can pick up the telephone and tell the city employee, do this or do that. It's a process that we have to take as council members. Yes, we do make up the laws, but the administration, they enforce the laws. And so therefore, and they also oversees the city employees. And again, our job here as councilor, as in to do legislative work, you know, the citizens come to us with issues, we take it to the administration for the administration to address. Thank you. I just wanted to say that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Madam City Clerk?
Timothy Hollis.
And what is Mr. Hollis here to speak to us about?
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Hollis is here regarding 64026 and 0844.
Timothy Hollis, 1924 Seal Street, District 1. All right, so I'm going to start off first by saying good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning to the administration. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that it's going to be a sad day when the district representatives from 1 and 6 leave their chairs this year, because in my belief, those are two of the most transparent people on this board. And when you tell a council person that it's time for them to be quiet, when this is their only hour to speak to the citizens that they represent, we're in a disparate city. 64-026. Now, I just saw Mr. Hill ask this question, and we left him on blank, as we always do. And I found it very irresponsible to see people to the east of me at this table smirking and laughing when they didn't. Yes.
What was our number again?
64-026, the ordinance. What is being amended and what is being restated. I feel that the citizens deserve a transparent answer. Not everybody knows. I feel like somebody at this table to the east of me has a responsibility that they're being employed to do. When someone comes to this table or to this podium and asks a question that they have the answer to, I think the answer should be provided. Furthermore, if we're about to vote on something, that means that our 7 council members know what's about to happen. So if nobody can answer the question, there's irresponsibility within the midst. 08-444, approving item-based bids for recreational items for the Recreation Department. What items are being approved? What are the bids? What bids are being voted on? Can the city and the citizens know? These are my only requests today. I hope they're fulfilled. Thank you. I yield my time.
Ordinance held over. Ordinance is held over. 64026. Ordinance to amend and restate Chapter 64 of the City Code zoning.
Move delay over 2 weeks.
Yeah, second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, to Mr. Hollis' question, you know, we are staying in committee with this, and this is going back and forth. We are not voting on this today, and it's going to be held over for another 2 weeks until we have a meeting, and we're going to have a series of meetings, so this is not going to be voted on no time soon, to answer your question.
Right.
And it's Mr. Hollis, it's an overhaul of the entire zoning for the city of Mobile. And Ms. Sheila Jones-Bico, who is over Build Mobile, has been working on this process for the past
5 years.
4 or 5 years at this point. And so it's gonna, as Mr. Vice President just stated, it'll be held over at least 2 more weeks, and then we'll, are you lit? Well, thank you. That's, okay, it's been motioned, second, any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Consent resolutions held over. 40379, declare the structure at 962 Government Street a public nuisance and order it demolished.
You can come to the floor. So moved.
I think I met with y'all last time about 962. My name's Jonathan Billings. I'm representing the owner of the property.
Right.
And I think we wanted to get an update from last time as to what we did in the initial 30 days. And we filed a COA with the city of Mobile.
Did you sign in?
No.
You didn't sign in, Mr.
Billings. Yes, sir.
You didn't sign in.
It's an agenda item, but
It's
you
an
still
agenda
needed to
item.
sign in.
Okay.
But you do have an update on this property?
Yes, sir.
I think, he
I'd
didn't
like to
sign
hear.
in. I'm sorry, he didn't sign in. If we make an exception in this case, then we have to make an exception in every
Well,
case.
sometimes that's important.
Well, then it becomes a matter of arbitrary decisions, whether it's important or not.
I
Why
asked
don't
at
we-
pre-conference.
Why don't we lay this over
Yeah.
a week and then you sign in on next week? Because I'm hopeful that the report you have is some good news as relates to this property.
It is.
So let's, why don't we?
Mr. President.
Sure.
Remember, I asked at pre-conference whether there was an update.
Yeah, so we've got an update from the attorney that represents, I believe that's, the owner of the property has moved towards going through ARB, and we recommend a 30-day hold on it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that'll work. Okay, 30-day holdover?
So I need to withdraw my motion.
Right.
Okay, I withdraw.
Move to lay over 30 days instead?
Second.
Properly moved and second, any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolutions held over. 08443, approve purchase order to Beard Equipment Company. 08444, approve item-based bids for recreational items for the Recreation Department. 08445, approve purchase order for unleaded fuel. 08446, approve purchase order to Coblitz Equipment and Parts Company, Inc. 08447, approve purchase order to Samsung Equipment Company, Inc. 08448, approved purchase order to CDW Government for network switches and power supplies for information technology. 08449, approved purchase order to UAV Survey LLC. 08450, approved purchase order to Gladiator Forensics. 09451, reallocate monies from the Police Department operating account to the Capital Improvement Fund. 09452, reallocate monies from the Stormwater Fund to various stormwater management projects. 21453, and 21454, authorizing contracts with Renisha Jones and Alina Olger for cyber specialist services. 35455, authorized lease agreement with the Parkway Center for Mobile Police First Precinct. 60456, approval award of special bonus to the Officer of the Month for May. 6457, 458, 459 are approving settlement agreements and release of claims.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and second, any discussion?
Yes. I'd like to discuss 35-455, which is the lease for the police precinct. If I may. We received a memo from our attorney about the details of this, and just like to read them out for the public. For years 1 through 3, it'll be $7,500 a month. For years 4 through 10, it is $8,750,000. And for 11 through 20, it is $9,375 a month. There's also additional rent that is for common space, and that's, I guess this is for the full 20 years at this point, $1,375 a month. There's also 2 5-year options to renew after the additional 20 years. There's a build-out that's estimated to cost, and this is an estimated amount, $902,750. $1,000, and the city will pay $5,488 per month for that, and I take that's for the 20 years. The city has the option to terminate the lease at the end of the 15 years, but will still have to pay for the build-out, which is still an estimate, but I would hope, I don't know if that's, in ink right now, as far as an estimate for a build-out, especially in this day and age, so that might come in a lot higher. This is something that will not happen for the next 6 months, if I'm repeating what I've been told, and that the precinct on Virginia Street, is that a leased building, or is that owned by the City of Mobile?
City of Mobile.
And is that going to be vacated as part of this program?
It will not. It's going to be turned over to special ops to use as a precinct for mainly traffic units.
Okay, so that will still be up and running, but just a different type of program. If many of you will recall, my colleagues, I wrote you a letter, email actually, when I learned that the mayor had secured a lease prior to us having a pending item on our agenda, because it was a Thursday evening. There was a big press conference. I'm sorry that the council member that represents this area that will be getting this asset and resource, but policing is citywide, of course. And it's not my office's intent to stop the process. It was to understand that the council is the agency or the entity that actually approves a lease. And I've learned over the in the past couple of weeks, all these details. And I was just wondering if the city ever looked at doing an ownership as opposed to a 20-year leasing situation, since it's pretty good cost to lease this building.
I think we, over the past couple of years, explored numerous options, including, the possibility of a lease purchase, getting a local developer involved. We were never able to really move forward on anything substantial. This ended up being one of the properties that we looked at and eventually struck the deal with to do the build out, and we chose the lease agreement as being the best option for us for now.
Okay. And in the past, we've leased things in shopping centers. What is the average that those leases run for? Because we've also moved out of the Festival Center. We moved off of Moffett Road. I can probably think of a few others that were not city-owned but leased. And then dynamics either change or the resource is not needed in that area. How do you view a lease? Is it a permanent thing? Because once a community gets used to it, sometimes when you pull it out, you have a backlash when you lose policing.
I mean, you are correct. I would say that 10 years, on the second precinct, we entered a 10-year lease out there. So if we ever decide to go to a more permanent facility, I guess is your question.
Yes.
That did happen in Precinct 4. I think we talked about that last week, where that was shut down and moved to the new facility on Airport Boulevard that was built. The Precinct 2, again, we didn't have a property to really build out for the city, and so the best option, again, was a lease. Precinct 3 is a city-owned facility. It was actually the first precinct that was built and designed for the police.
And that's on St. Stephen's?
That's correct.
Right.
District 1.
Yeah, it's often good, because once you get policing, it's really almost an economic incentive for businesses and for homeowners to have that nearby. And leasing doesn't quite, give that kind of clout when you're using the resources. So that's just something that I would certainly would like for the city to kind of figure out, to use your resources as economic development and not just an economic development for an empty, facility. The idea that the mayor used the term, and I wish he was here because I addressed him last week about this as the first read, and that is simply that the council has a seat at the table. All of us have a seat at the table. One of us cannot do anything by ourselves. It takes 5, which also is a debatable action, but the point is that the council is the check and balance, and without that check and balance, I think our citizens are at risk. And I will stand by that statement and hope that my colleagues would join me in that sentiment. Maybe not do it in the ways that I do it, but it's very, very important that the council not be automatic rubber stamps. And again, all these details, they're coming as exactly as outlined. There was not room for my office to debate or to put in anything into the equation. And it is policing. It is not something that's just for an area of town that's designed just to embellish an area. It's for everybody policing. So, because we all benefit, because we all drive around and we can all be caught by the police. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr. Richardson.
I had similar concerns as Ms. Rich regarding whether or not it would be more advantageous to lease a building rather than buy a building, to build our own precinct, or purchase our own building. I haven't seen any figures to show what it would cost us if we had built the building. We just know what it's gonna cost us to lease of the building. So I don't know what it, I'll say this, we were in a trailer in Precinct 3, and the city of Mobile was looking at leasing. I opposed it. So we built Precinct 3. We have our own police precinct. And you will find, since it's in police, in District 3, it's different than any other precinct in the city. I have a lot of seniors. I wanted ATM machine at the precinct. So seniors wouldn't have to worry about whether or not they're going to get robbed if they went to the ATM. You won't find that nowhere else. And I was trying to get the county to bring their services over there so you can buy your car tag, driver's license, and everything. It's over there, and when somebody saw what we was trying to do, they got into the mix and stopped it. But you alter over to the, when you walk in that door to the right, that whole section that was built so we could have the county to bring their personnel in. You can buy your car tag and do whatever you do at the courthouse over there too. And we didn't get that done. But the 3rd precinct is a first-class precinct. It'll hold its own among any of them. On 0844, we've had people here today question what items that's being purchased. I was going to ask Director Smith. She left. Is there anybody from the Recreation Department who can answer that? Anybody here who can answer specifically what it is?
He's got the files back there, and I sent it to the people because there were questions.
Could you speak in your mic, Mr. Williams?
I have, I took the backup documentation on that file that was questioned, the purchases, and I forwarded it to Mr. Hollis. He's looking at it right now. All you have to do is ask me. I'm one of the most transparent guys in here. I got information. I just don't know where to send it. So you just ask and you receive. You're always welcome.
Mr. President.
Mr. Richardson?
The reason I wanted somebody from the Recreation Department to come to the podium, I wanted the whole community to know. I want Mr. Hollis to know, but I want everybody else to know what's happening. And that's why I was asking somebody from the Recreation Department to come up and just state what it is so the people in TV land and wherever else would know what we're buying with this money. That's why I was asking. But if no one is here to do it, we'll move on, Mr. President. I'm not holding up for that. That was my rationale.
Any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Mr. Vice President.
Speaking on the police precinct, the current precinct where it's located now, which is located on Virginia and Broad Street, that building was never designed to be a police precinct. If you go in there, it's very small. As a matter of fact, I had a citizen contact me last week and said that they're happy to go somewhere that's, that's more decent than, what's right there at Virginia and Broad Street. No, the building would not stay empty or vacant on Virginia and Broad. It's going to be a motor pool where the officers can go there and fill up their gas. The precinct on DIP, for the council knowledge, if they do not know, in the citizens, the particular lease that's going out, that's before us today, is not, the desired, location where the administration had actually wanted. They wanted it another location, which would have been much better for that, the area and for the city. But the location that we have before us today is a bigger location where the city, the administration, the police department can do more training. Right now, there are 2 training classes. If I'm wrong, Chief Barber, correct me. But this facility will allow 3 training classes in a year's time. So this is not just for the DIP area or District 3 area. this facility is for the citizens, citywide, because this will put more officers on our streets. And that's what we need, in our city of Mobile, is more police officers on our streets. And if this facility is big enough to hold 3 different training classes and also have community rooms there for the different CAG groups can go there and have their community meetings, there. And also is an able place that the citizens can also go there and pay their tickets, besides trying to come downtown and trying to search for parking. There's plenty of parking spaces out there. So again, this is not just for area, just for District 3 or DIP. This is really, pretty much going to benefit the city citywide and everything. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Mr. President.
Mr. Daves.
I'd like to speak, well, first of all, I'd like to commend the administration for developing this opportunity on Dauphin Island Parkway, and particularly to pursuing the lease option as opposed to buying the property. The city of Mobile's problem is not that it doesn't own enough real property. The city of Mobile's problem is it owns too much real property. A lease gives us greater flexibility than owning the property. This lease has terms to it. If it works out, we can keep the operations there. If it doesn't work out and there's another location that's better, at some point in the future, we can move to that location. But once you bought it, you got it. It's a lot easier to buy something than it is to sell something. So this lease, I think, is excellent for its purposes. It gives us a lot of flexibility. It doesn't tie down a lot of capital at the front end. It's a good deal. Thank you very much.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson.
if leasing was so good, most of us would be leasing the house that we live in. I disagree. Lease is good for some purpose, but for city to own its own precinct, I said it's just like saying we should have leased to one of the 3rd precinct. I said no. It's a place for leasing, it's a place for buying.
Any further discussion?
One more thing, Mr. President, it'll be it from me. I do agree with Mr. Days, and also this is also an opportunity, as Mr. Days said, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but this is also an opportunity for us to go ahead and get classes going to get more police officers on the street than versus just trying to find a facility, find some land to build a facility and to go ahead and build. Well, with this 10-year lease, at least we have an opportunity to find some land and then do the blueprints and do drawings and, then build it and after we find the funding. But right now, we can go ahead and lease this building and go ahead and train more officers and put them on the street as soon as possible. Thank you.
Mr. President, I want to make it crystal clear that I am not opposed. I'm not opposed to the precinct. I'm not here to say that I'm opposed to them moving the precinct, and I'm not going to vote against the mayor leasing it. The form of government that we have permits the council to debate all issues and then pick the best solution. So you'll hear various viewpoints all the way across. At the end, we have to vote. I'll discuss leasing, but I'm not getting ready to vote against the precinct. I'm opposed to the mayor coming out first claiming he had already signed the lease because the council must approve the lease first. But I'm for the precinct. Get that clear, make that clear.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Consent resolutions being introduced, 37462 through 47481.
By council rules, these resolutions we lay over for 1 week.
Huh?
No.
Consent.
This is consent.
Oh, consent. Oh, they're all over. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought it was CIP. I'm sorry. I'm looking at CIP. I apologize. Yeah.
Second.
Move for
Yeah.
second.
Motion. Yeah.
With the exception of 37463.
Yeah, yes.
1 week hold.
No, no, no,
They're
no.
gonna-
I
they're
told
gonna
him we
roll.
could go ahead and
They can
take
go
that
ahead
out.
with it.
Oh, you're going to go ahead? Okay.
Yeah.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
37462 and 463 are recommending approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a retail beer table wine off-premises only license for DIP Food Mart on Dolphin Island Parkway and for issuance of a retail beer table wine off-premises only license for Discount Zone on Azalea Road. 464, declare the structure at 460 Dexter Avenue a public nuisance and order it demolished. 466, declare the structure at 1455 Lincoln Street a public nuisance and order it demolished. 468 and 469, assess cost for removal of weeds. Weedling Group 1610 and 1611. 60, 470 and 471 are determining appropriations to Booker T. Washington Middle School and Cottage Hill Athletic Association serve a public purpose and authorizing payment. 46, 472, give Lexington Avenue the honorary designation of A.J. Stokes Avenue. 47, 481, recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a special events retail license for Lit Cigar Lounge for Saturdays at the Coop on June 26th.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
4465, declare the structure at 56 South Lafayette Street a public nuisance and order it demolished.
Move delay over 7 weeks.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
4467, declare the structure at 2118 Barron Place a public nuisance and order it demolished.
Move layover for 30 days.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
CIP resolutions being introduced for the first time, 01473 through 01474.
Yeah, by council rules, these are gonna label for 1 week.
Resolutions being introduced, 09475 through 31480.
Motion to suspend the rules for immediate consideration for 09-475 through 31-480.
No,
Second.
I thought 31480 was laying over.
It's gonna lay over. I take that back. Immediate consideration for 09-475 through 09-475 through 09-479.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
09475, 476, 477, 478, and 479 are reallocating monies from various capital projects to fire training facility rehab project and fire suppression overtime and regular pay to fire training facility rehab project and from fire suppression uniforms to the fire training facility rehab project and from EMS operating supplies to capital fire administration projects.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Call for public hearings. 41461, call for public hearing to consider the vacation of a portion of Pearl Street, Lion Street, Hospital Street, and Basil Street, scheduled for July 27th.
Move to table.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Announcements.
Yes. Ms. Gina Graver.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate that. The announcement today is about my district meeting. I mentioned something earlier about having a district meeting where we could help to publicize the fact that the city is hiring, and we want to get the word out to everybody. So again, my district meeting will be July 6th at the Mlb Museum of Art. This will be the first in-person meeting that we have been able to have in the district since Christmas of 2019. So we're calling this Christmas in July. We will do the same things that we normally do at my Christmas meeting, which is to, of course, have guest speakers, but also to recognize our first responders and public works employees and community action groups, homeowners associations, and other community groups. We do this every Christmas so that we can recognize the work that they all do and also to help introduce people at these meetings to one another. We also bring gifts for Wilmer Hall, and we are doing the same thing this year. We'll be sending out postcards very soon, if they have not already gone out, with a list of needed items at Wilmer Hall. Again, Christmas in July, we're doing it now because we haven't been able to do it in the past, and we will, of course, have guest speakers, including the mayor, Public Works, Engineering, Public Safety, Parks and Recreation, so they will be able to provide information. And Commissioner Connie Hudson will be in attendance to describe her Love Your Community program and try to get some people interested in becoming a part of that. So July 6th, I'll be talking more about that in weeks to come. Thank you so much.
Mr. Williams?
No, thank you.
Mr. Small?
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening at the Riverside Baptist Church on Dolphin Island Parkway, we are going to have our District 3 meeting. As Ms. Gregory has stated, it's been over a year since we have met, but it's going to be this evening at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Riverside Baptist Church. I have invited the mayor and his administration to come out. And also, we had invited Mr. Chris Curry, which is over the Airport Authority. He's going to come and bring updates about the potential move of the airport to Brooklyn. And we also invited the new commissioners, School Board Commissioner Sherrod McDade, and also County Commissioner District 3, Randall Dewitt. Again, this all will take place this evening at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Riverside Baptist Church, inviting all the citizens of District 3 to please come out and get informed of what's going on in our community. Also, on tomorrow, I will be meeting with the Oakdale Community Service Club at the First Baptist Church on Baltimore Street. This meeting will take place at noon on tomorrow, inviting all the citizens in the Oakdale community to please come out on tomorrow at noon to a meeting that we're going to have. It's going to be a very informative meeting, which you will be very interested to know what's going on in the Oakdale community. And as Ms. Gregory has stated earlier, about she's going to have a personnel there at her community meeting about potentials of jobs in the city of Mobile. It's my desire to have a job fair, and I'd like to invite my colleagues on this council to join with me. If so, please let us know. Also going to ask our public relations person, Cassandra, to help to organize this. But as we have learned in pre-council meeting that we do have some machines that's out there in public works that are not being used, and we need some employees. So it's my goal and my intent to have some type of large job fair in the next 3 weeks, where we can make sure that citizens know they can come get a job with the city of Mobile. And again, that's my goal, to have it in the next 3 weeks. And again, we want our public relations person, Cassandra, to help with this. And again, any council member would like to join me, please let us know as soon as possible. But again, it's our goal in the next 3 weeks to get this done. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Daves?
Thank you, Mr. President. And Mr. Small, I'd be happy to join you in sponsoring a job fair. Next week, on Tuesday, June 29th at 8 o'clock a.m., the Finance Committee will meet again to consider the proposed plan of action with respect to American Recovery Plan funds. That will be at 8 o'clock again next week, Tuesday, June 29th, in this room at 8 o'clock a.m. On July 13, Tuesday, July 13th at 6 o'clock p.m., we'll have a District 5 community meeting. It will be at the Westminster Presbyterian Church, corner of Sage Avenue and Airport Boulevard. The invited guests are Mayor Stimpson, Public Services Director DeLapp, and Public Safety Director Batiste. At 6 o'clock p.m., Westminster Presbyterian Church, July 13th, Sage and Airport. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Daves. Mr. Richardson?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to let Councilman Small know that I'm certainly interested in the job fair, and I want to notice I intend to be there. For the citizens in Trinity Gardens, we're going to hold our first community meeting in way over a year. It's going to be at the Dodge Community Center, Tuesday the 29th, starting at 6 o'clock at the Dodge Community Center, asking all our citizens to please join us. We're going to have special guests to come in to talk about jobs, workforce development. We're going to also talk about CIP and upgrades that's coming your way. We're going to have a list of all of the upgrades that's coming to Trinity Gardens. But more importantly, we want to hear from the citizens of Trinity Gardens. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you. We're going to start on time at 6 o'clock, and we intend to have a great meeting there in Trinity Gardens. I would like to announce also that in working in conjunction with Commissioner Ludgood, who is over District 1, funding is available to resurface all of Stanton Road, all of Somerville Street. So for those people living along Stanton, and I know you've complained for I don't know how long about those two streets, especially Stanton Road. The Stanton Road leads to USA, it leads to elementary school. It just all kind of developments over there, businesses over there, and to have to drive down that road like you on some country road, it's good news to know that all of that is going to be corrected very soon. We're in the bidding stage, and from there it's going to go to a contract stage, and then next the contractor is going to come out and start the process. So the main thing is that the funding is available. It's other processes that we're going to have to follow before construction starts, but just know money is available, and your street, Stanton and Somerville, will be resurfaced. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Ms. Rich.
Thank you very much. Last week I was remiss and didn't wish everyone a very happy Father's Day. I hope it was a good one for everyone, making lots of memories and good times with your family and friends. I also would like to announce that my office will be hosting a district-wide community event, and it will be for candidates that have come forward for which will be an open seat for District 6. It will not be a debate. I've given this a lot of thought. It will be an opportunity for every candidate to have a certain portion of time, all the same, by alphabetical order, to put out their platform or any information they would like to share. We'll also have tables available for the candidates to stand behind and to meet and greet citizens, and they can answer more personal questions at that point, which would be encouraged, and hopefully a very pleasant event. I'm not sure whether we'll include the Mayoral Campaign. I did that in 2013 in order to enlighten the voters about the mayor's race at the time. I was not running. It was not an open seat, and I was not challenged. Last time in 2017, I did have a challenge, so therefore could not exactly get a community meeting together. Since I'm not part of the on the ballot, it will be a good way for residents to meet and greet and ask their questions more one-on-one. The other thing is that the date selected at this time is August 5th. I know it's a little ways up the pike. It'll be at the Connie Hudson Senior Center. That's the one facility in the district, and it's great parking, and everyone knows where it's located for the most part, and probably be at 6:30 in the evening. That's a Thursday evening, and over by 8:30. So be looking for that, and I'll send postcards to residents in the district and have a little more details to give out as it gets closer. I need to wait until the election, official election closes, so that all candidates get an invitation at the same time. But I am getting out the date, and that's August 5th. I think that's pretty much going to be good timing for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe I'm going to yield some of my announcement time to Mr. Kalinsky Adams. If you can come and briefly tell us about your festival. It's been brought to our attention, and I don't mind sharing some time with you. But not a whole lot, though. But you got the floor. Oh, my fault. Come on.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
Mr. President. Thank you, council, the mayor's team. I came here today, I really just wanted to talk about Mlb Music Fest. It's happening July 9th through 11th in Cathedral. I need everybody to know from District 1 to District 7 that all of your constituents attend Mlb Music Fest. I wish Ms. Gina Gregory was here right now because I want her to know that, especially because it's for everybody to understand that this is about the community of Mobile and performing arts. The reason Mlb Music Fest came about was to bring all genres of music together on one stage. So on the weekend of the 9th through the 11th in Cathedral, your district, by the way, that's where we'll be happening at. And also, I want to put out to the council, hope you guys can find a way to adopt Mlb Music Fest. I know we had festivals in the past that people loved and cherished, but it is a new age. Mobile music scene and entertainment business is in a whole nother light now. I'm at the forefront of it, being a radio personality and an activist for music. But the reason that we have this festival and the pieces that we're bringing from education to actually get artists a platform to perform is all about making Mobile the future of performing arts across the Gulf Coast. So I want to make sure I put that out there. I know this public forum right here will make sure everybody get the message that and coincide with Art Walk and the weekend, also at the Coop, you have Mlb Music Fest happening in the Cathedral July 9th through 11th. So I just wanted to put that out there, and I want to ask for your support. This year, we kind of came short because of COVID. We didn't know if we wanted to be back outside. Last year, we had the opportunity to go virtual. But 2022, I look forward to working with the city, working with the council to make Mlb Music Fest bigger and better for the city of Mobile. So just want to send an invitation out to you guys and make sure you guys know that we're here celebrating performing arts. Mlb Music Fest is Mobile's Music Fest. MOB, those three letters mean something. As an ambassador of the music scene in the city of Mobile, I go out there and represent Mobile for the culture of all genres, because one thing we lack a lot in diversity and inclusion, and that's one thing that you will get at Mlb Music Fest. One stage, you get folk, blues, jazz, hip hop, just culture. And we want to do that right here in Mobile, Alabama. So thank you for your time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for all your hard work in keeping this music festival going. We really appreciate it.
You see what my shirt say?
Yes, sir. MOB versus everybody.
That's Mobile versus everybody. When I say that, as a city of Mobile as a whole, we got a whole community of cities around us, but we are Mobile, Alabama, and the people need to know that.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Probably moved in second. Any discussion?